Karen Chia gets in conversation with London-based Fabienne Serfati. She is a business entrepreneur committed to systematic solutions to social challenges. Now, Fabienne draws on 30 years of experience in investing and consulting. And also, she serves on several boards, including Client Earth. So the world's largest network of social entrepreneurs that she set up, it's called Ashoka. Let's have a listen.
If I look at the word social entrepreneurship, would you consider it an oxymoron in terms, actually?
That's a good point. So I think when we think of entrepreneur or maybe business in a larger sense, what we usually think about is maximizing profit or at least securing long-term sustainability for that venture. And when we think of social, as in social enterprise or their cousins, all the social ventures, we think of serving in first place a social goal, doing good, social agenda, and reinvesting all the profits into some kind of community. Or we think of funding through tax money, foundations, government, etc. None of the two is true anymore. As I see businesses, so enterprises and social ventures coming together in hybrid agendas at a very rapid pace. Businesses, as I'm sure you're experiencing in Singapore and elsewhere, they will now move away from the traditional CSR focus of doing good to something much more deep, which is what is the purpose of the business we do and what impact does it have in the world around us? And the same is true for the social ventures. They increasingly have to fight for their funds themselves. So they are setting up arms that raise money. They become sustainable. They are becoming profitable. But there will always be, a difference in the agenda. And that's the back and forth that we're going to observe the next 10 years, which is a social enterprise will have typically not the classic risk-return matrix, but it will mitigate risk against two different types of returns. One is the financial return, so profit, and the other one is a social return as measured by social impact. But it's opening up the field for a lot of creative capital funding.
If we look at social entrepreneurship or social enterprise, for the UK alone, I think it makes up something like 2% of the total GDP. Are businesses aware or are countries aware that social entrepreneurship can actually be lucrative?
I do think that more and more corporations are becoming aware of that. I'm going to quote Larry Fink of BlackRock. So BlackRock is the largest investor in the world, I believe, with $6 trillion in their portfolio. And Larry Fink's statement was telling CEOs that they will now need to show BlackRock how they contribute to society or else they risk to lose their funding, which is revolutionary. I think there's a great opportunity there for social entrepreneurs. Let me give you a more general example. Another platform I'm involved with, I'm on the board here, is Ashoka. Ashoka is the largest platform of social entrepreneurs in the world. And you can think of them as an incubator for young social entrepreneurs. So they help them with setting up their business plan, refining the strategy, getting the funding, and more importantly, building the business network that's going to support them in their endeavors. And they work in, the complete scala of all the social changes that you can think of. So from poverty to environment to marginalized group.
And tell us a little bit more about the Ashoka philosophy of the changemaker world.
Wonderful to find out that you know about that. That word has spread around. Ashoka can get credit for inventing the word social entrepreneur about 20 years ago and is now moving on to a new model, which is everyone is a change maker. And that is it's accompanying and sometimes replacing the idea of social entrepreneurship. It basically seeks to empower agents in all levels of our society, starting with children in their schools, taking responsibility to put change in place. That's what the change maker word, what it means, to the teachers, to all the players in the communities, to, of course, the businesses involved.
What is the stumbling block right now to get these social entrepreneurs up to speed?
I'm very excited about the possibility of large corporations partnering with smaller social enterprise. There are some very good examples of co-creation, as it's called. And it's in the context of co-creation between a large German pharmaceutical company and their intention to work actively with the best social entrepreneurs in the world in their field. So one of them that did very well is a young entrepreneur who has developed a technology by which he trains rats to recognize tuberculosis, so TB, infected urine samples. So the rats basically walk by 10 samples of urine and they will stop and recognize the one that is TB infected. And their recognition rate is absolutely comparable to what you would get with chemicals, except that this technology can be delivered in any village in Africa with any kind of setups. And that has allowed a penetration of that market that was a tenfold of what the company ever thought, they would be able to reach. So it's been a win-win case. And I think that is the contribution that the social entrepreneurs bring.
Fabiana A. Sarfati, now she's a board member at Ashoka Foundation as well as Client Earth. I do correct myself from earlier on when I said she was the founder of that particular foundation. And she's a social entrepreneur investor.
938 Now. LTA.